The 2015 Polyglot Gathering is brought to you by italki. Become fluent in any language.
Thank you very much for being here, although it's very early, I guess, for many of you. And I'm here today to talk about something I really care about, and it's guided imagery in language learning. Guided imagery is a tool, a language learning tool, is a learning tool in general, but it's a language learning tool that may help you with your motivation, with word retentions, and also will help you relax while learning. Some of you may think that this may sound a bit too far-fetched, but please stick with me till the end of the lecture and you'll see why you may want to add this tool to your language learning routine. Well, I'll have to ask you a few questions before going on. You don't have to answer these aloud. You may if you want, but the first question after the one that I asked before, which was, would this guy's hard? The first question is this. Imagine that you saw a bunch of polyglots, a few polyglots, and they were with their eyes closed. And you got so curious to know what they're doing with their eyes closed, relaxed. And afterwards, you asked one of them, and he answered you, well, I was mentally training to improve my language learning skills. What would you think in this case? I'm going to give you another situation. Imagine that you had a lot of students who were with their eyes closed, and there was also a coach. And you asked him, what are these students doing? The coach would answer you, well, they're mentally training to improve their skills with throwing free shots in the sport of basketball. What would you think in this case? I'll give you a few options. The first one is that they are nuts. The second one is they're wasting their time. And the third is that they are actually improving their performance. Well, the second situation is a situation that really happened because there was an experiment held several years ago at a university in the United States where they tested the use of mental training to improve the ability to throw free shots. And there were three groups. The first group had just to physically train for 20 days. The second group had to do nothing at all. The third group had just to mentally train, imagining that they were throwing these free shots and to be successful with it, actually. Well, the result of this test is surprising and impressive. Like you, like me, a few years ago, I was between A and B, that they were nuts or they were wasting their time. But after reading about this and reading about what I'm going to tell you later in this lecture, I slightly changed my mind because the result was this. After 20 days, the students in the first group managed to improve 24%. They were the students who had to physically train themselves to throw these free shots. The second group, which was the group in which the students had to do nothing at all, as you may think, they had no improvement at all. In the third group, and this is quite surprisingly if you think about it, they actually improved. How much do you think they improved?
50%.
Well, that would be wonderful, but they improved actually 23%. But if you think that they didn't do any physical training at all, this is quite impressive. The idea of this lecture is to let you think about the use of this tool, which has been used by top athletes all over the world to achieve great success, to rehearse routines, to create muscle memory. This tool has been used by athletes, but why can't be used by language learners, by language teachers as well? Well, there are several reasons why you may want to use this. But before telling you about them, I would like to talk about something else I came across over the years. And it's called, actually, the couch potato workout. Imagine an evening with a bunch of guys getting ready to watch a game. And by doing that, they are going to improve their sports skills. What do you think? Just kidding. It's not like that. But I had fun, and I created this. I made this drawing with 2 potatoes, having fun in front of the TV. But anyway, the point is that there is actually the couch potato workout, which is a kind of workout that athletes do while relaxing in front of a TV screen and watching other athletes performing at their best. Actually, this makes sense if you think about the latest developments happened in neuroscience. Because when we observe someone with the intention of learning what he's doing, whether it be speaking a language, whether it be practicing any sport, we are activating our mirror neurons. Mirror neurons are the neurons that activate actually when we observe someone with the intention of learning what he's doing. The same neurons in our brain activate the same neurons that activate in the person in front of us, activate in our brain. That's why they're called mirror neurons. Anyway, this was just to talk about all the theories that there are about this use of guided imagery. Some psychologists talk about the neuromuscular programming. Actually, when we imagine that we are doing something, we are making those micro movements that train ourselves to perform at our best when we actually practice. Anyway, there are other reasons why you may want to add this tool to your language learning routine. There is another experiment held by Elisa Tartaglia, an Italian, at the École Polytechnique of Lausanne, who proved that thinking about something over and over again could actually be as good as doing it. So if you imagine that you are very good at speaking a language, if you imagine yourself in a situation in which you have to speak the language and you do it over and over, what happens? That you are priming your mind in order to achieve success, in order to be successful, a successful language learner. Welcome. Anyway, these are all proofs that this tool may be helpful, but still, you don't know what this tool is, because I haven't talked about it yet. I've been talking about the reasons why you may want to add this. I've already talked about this, but I would like to talk about a German trainer who died a few years ago, who actually managed to explain that our brain, while learning and practicing any skill, uses a lot of energy. If you think about the fact of speaking a language, when you speak a language, your brain has to coordinate your muscle tongue to let you speak, to let you be comprehensible. And at the same time, it has to think what to say and anything else. She actually said that if you switch forward and back between real action and imaginary action, you may accelerate the way you learn anything, any skill, also language learning. Anyway, these are just the reasons why you may want to do this, to practice this. But here, from now on, I'd like to introduce to what actually guided imagery is. In a short while, I'm going to ask you to just take a comfortable position in your seat and think about a positive language or anything, a positive experience actually, where you learned something important for you and it was joyful, it was positive, it was fun. It may have happened a long time ago or just today or a few days ago or yesterday at the Polyglot gathering, anywhere. Anyway, I would like you to think about this positive learning experience so that you are primed to positivity while learning languages. And after letting you think in a short while about this positive learning experience that can happen by yourself or with others, I'm going to ask you a very important question. You don't have to answer to this right now because we're doing it in a short while. And the question is, how would you feel if you had already spoken your target language very well, as if you were a mother tongue speaker? How would you feel? How would you feel? Great. Okay. And this is a question that will open future possibilities in your ability to speak that language. And I usually ask this question to all my students because I teach Italian to foreigners and I use a lot of methods to help them achieve their goal of speaking Italian very well. After that, I'm going to let you imagine that you are with a bunch of people speaking your target language. Because I know that you are polyglots and you would like to use all your languages with this experience, but please stick with one for this experiment. I'm going to let you imagine that there are these friends of yours, imaginary or real people, and you're going to speak with them in your target language, and they are speaking to you and you understand everything. You feel great while speaking with them. And after that, I'm going to let you receive a couple of presents from your friends. The first one is a present personal to you. You can choose it. You can choose anything that you want to receive from your friends. It could be whatever, a car, a ticket, to fly somewhere, anything. And you just have to gratefully accept. It's your fantasy. Anything is possible in your fantasy. And then I'm going to let your friends give another gift, another present, which is a colored box containing a lot of things that I'm not going to tell you yet. I'm going to tell you in a short while. And then I'm just going to count and let you come back here. So the first thing that I'm going to ask you now, as I put some background music, is to just take a comfortable position, as comfortable as you can, and I'll play this music in the background. Okay. As you hear this music and you are sitting here, listening to the sound of my voice, you may, if you want, stay with your eyes open or closed, the way you like it. As you do it, you may begin to focus on the way you are breathing. Some people are breathing through their nose, others through their mouths, or both. Just notice it. As you notice it, begin to breathe a bit slower, because by breathing slowly, you can allow your mind to just begin to relax and to let you reach the ideal state of relaxation. What's best for you? So keep on breathing in a slow way. And as you do, begin to scan your body parts. Any noise, any sound fades away. Concentrate on the sound of my voice and begin to notice that with each breath you take, you may allow your forehead to relax, your face, your shoulders, your arms. Any part of your body begins to relax more and more, allowing you to reach your ideal state of relaxation. Your chest, your stomach, your legs, your feet. Every part of your body is reaching your ideal state of relaxation. And as you keep breathing in this way, you may begin to remember or imagine a positive learning experience. It's your personal learning experience, a positive learning experience, a joyful learning experience, a time when you learned something important for you and it was joyful, wonderful, you enjoyed it. You may imagine it with all of your senses, with your eyes. See what you can see in this positive learning experience. Hear what you can hear in this positive learning experience. And feel the feelings that you are able to feel while learning something in a joyful way. As you do it, think of your target language. Think of your positive learning experience and think of your target language. And imagine that you have already spoken it very well for a long time. How would you feel? How would you be as a person if you had spoken this language very well for a long time? And then imagine a group of people, a friend of yours, whose mother tongue is your target language, and you are talking with them in your target language. You speak it very well, you understand everything, and you have a lot of fun with your friends speaking your target language. And then you realize that you are proud of yourself because you achieved another goal and you can speak your target language very well. And then your friends have some presents for you, some gifts. The first is something that you would love to receive from your friends. It's something special that you just have to gratefully accept. And you receive it. And you say, thank you, with all of your heart. And then they give you another gift, which is a colored box, colored with the rainbow colors. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, dark blue, indigo, violet. And then they give it to you. You open it. And you see that inside there is confidence, curiosity, joy of speaking your target language. You thank your friends. And you know that you can open this box anytime you want to speak your target language. In a short while, I'm going to count from 1 to 10. As I count, I'm going to say some positive sentences that you can repeat in your mind if you want. When you hear the number 10, you can come back here and now and feel relaxed, revitalized, energized, and ready to speak your target language. I'm counting now. 1. I enjoy learning my target language. 2. I speak my target language better and better. 3. I love speaking my target language. 4. Speaking it is a joy. 5. When you hear the number 10, you may come back here, relaxed, revitalized, energized, and ready to speak your target language. 6. I love opportunities when I have to speak this language because I love it. 7. Speaking my target language gets easier and easier. 8. I'm enjoying speaking my target language. 9. I love practicing day after day to achieve my goal of speaking my target language better and better. And 10. Open your eyes. You are refreshed, revitalized, energized, and ready to speak your target language. How do you feel? Okay. I'll let you give me some feedback in a short while because I just wanted to conclude with this lecture and tell you how you can use this tool in language learning. Because this is something that I use especially at the beginning of a course in order to motivate the student, to open up the possibility of being able to speak the language very well. Anyway, I think that we need not to be like Procrusti. Procrusti was an assassin who used to kill people. That's a bad thing. But anyway, what was he doing? He was putting his victims on his bed, and if they were too long to fit in his bed, he was cutting them. If they were too short to fit in that bed, he was stretching them. And we have to realize that a lot of teaching methods, a lot of schools, a lot of courses actually make something similar. They try and make students fit with their method. But it's the student, the learner who has to be at the center of the learning process. And it's the method that has to be adapted to the students. And what I usually do is to give a lot of tools, a lot of techniques in order to let the student be exposed to the same material in different ways and in different times. Because I really believe that we learn better in layers, and pauses, breaks during the learning do count. They are very important to let a part of your brain process the information and learn it. That said, I would like to let you see a few techniques that I usually use with this guided imagery technique. Well, you listen to the visualization just with your eyes closed, but imagine that it was in your target language. And if you were an absolute beginner, I could have said it in 2 languages. I could have told you the guided imagery in English and Italian, if I teach Italian. And then in a second moment, you could listen to it while reading the text of it. And that would be another layer. Then you could listen to it just in the target language. And you will be proud of yourself because you'll start and understand everything that I said in the target language. Then another layer would be to activate yourself while reading the text of the guided imagery. That is, underlining new words and expressions that are interesting for you. Another layer would be to create a mind map. I love creating mind map. I don't know if you realized it. And mind map are this wonderful tool that will allow you to activate both sides of your brain because they contain words which are good for our left brain, and colors and drawings that are very interesting for our right brain. And then I could have asked you a lot of questions, and the goal would be for you to answer them as quickly as possible in order to let you become more and more automatic. Another layer would be to add shadowing. Shadowing could be practiced in different ways. You could have it the easy way while reading the text, listening to it, and speaking it aloud as contemporarily as possible. But another layer would be to just close your eyes, listen to the audio, and speak it as contemporarily as possible. Another layer, again, would be to practice some physical exercises while doing the listening and the speaking of the shadowing. Well, another layer that I usually add to my students is the transformation layer. I told you this guided imagery in the second person. I said, you are going to relax. But usually with Italian works very well to transform it, to let the students transform the text at the first person, saying something, I am going to relax, with all the consequences that this has for the grammar. And this will help you internalize the grammar without talking about grammar, actually. Okay, these are the layers that I usually add to this tool, the guided imagery tool, okay. But you can also imagine that you see some people already speaking the target language very well, and you can imagine that you are becoming that person. It's your fantasy, you can imagine anything. Anything is possible in your fantasy, especially if it's a good fantasy. I'd like to conclude before listening to your feedback with a quote by Albert Einstein. imagination is more important than knowledge. For knowledge is limited to all we know now. We now know and understand, while imagination embraces the entire world and all there ever will be to know and understand. That was Albert Einstein. I hope you've enjoyed this lecture. I'm Antonio Libertino. And now I'd like to hear some feedback, if it's possible, or your feelings during the guided imagery, for example. Do you like the background music? May I leave it?
I have a question,
Okay.
actually. You said you were doing this at the beginning,
Yes, actually.
so are you then going to do like just grammar or something like that? Because
Well-
I can't imagine the transition between this
Well,
and...
I'll tell you what I do the very first lesson. If it's an absolute, if
Can we do it?
I don't know if we have the time to do it, but I'll tell you. In another occasion, maybe we'll do it. What I usually do at the very first encounter with any person is to realize if we are able to speak directly in Italian or we need to use a transition language. If we need to use English, for example, to begin and learn the language, I usually ask a few questions, important questions to help to boost their motivation. I ask their reasons why they want to speak the language very well. And I listen to them and I create sentences out of it in Italian so that they begin to be involved with the language, although they haven't heard about it, they haven't spoken about it. And then I'll create with them an imaginary identity, which is, for example, if someone is, what's your name, for example?
Christina.
Christine. If you had an Italian name, what would that name be? You can choose anyone. Lucia, Francesca, Giuseppina. Anyone. So anyway, what I'm doing is to create this identity with a job, with a city of origin. This will help the person in front of me to relax and begin to immersate in the person, in the Italian-speaking person. Then I'll ask if there are potential hurdles that could prevent the person to achieve his goal of speaking the language very well. And I'll cope with that with several techniques that I haven't got time to explain. And then, toward the end of the first lecture, if I have the time, I'll guide them through this visualization at the beginning in two languages. At the next encounter, we can start and work through all the layers that I showed you before. And this will help the person begin to learn the grammar in an indirect way. Of course, if the student is curious, I'm going to answer I'm going to answer things about grammar. But I have a lot of students with whom I used this kind of method for 20 lessons, and they were starting to speak the language.
I have to confess that I didn't follow your instructions. But for a reason, I did something similar. I translated your speech into Italian.
Oh, okay.
And as I said, I was happy that I only missed a couple of words.
That's okay.
So that's something I do when I don't speak a language perfectly. Italian is not perfect, but I've used it, for instance, with Icelandic, which I cannot speak. You talk as in your head as if you were speaking to the other person in the target language. And with time you catch up. And in that way you can avoid making yourself a fool. And your mind is your own.
But In any case, what happens, thank you for your feedback and for what you said. What happens is that the person begins to get more and more confident with the language. That's the goal of this, especially the first visualization, which is what I usually use at the beginning of the course. In the other lessons, I may use being in a wonderful city in Italy, for example, my hometown, which is Tropea, and imagining to go to a bar, imagining to go to a restaurant. You can apply this with anything. I strongly suggest, though, that you use it with positive situations.
I think this is really powerful. I've used imagination for other things, but never, probably not, at least consciously, for language learning. And but as I don't have a Lithuanian coach, like as you could be, so what can I do by myself?
By yourself, you can find guided meditation in Lithuanian. I think there are. Guided meditation, they are not just the new age stuff that you can find around, but you can also find guided meditations to relax your body and thus learn the body parts in Lithuanian. The problem would be that you need to have a transcription of it so that you then do the other layering phase of it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Are there?
So does it work like NLP, neuro-linguistic programming? I heard of that.
Well, I don't know
You
about
don't
it,
know.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so it's basically the same. It's like neuro-linguistics, so it works on the basis of the neurons,
Yes.
but you have to say it, and as you say it, those two connect, and then it happens what you program in yourself.
Yeah,
So
you can
it's
also call
basically the
it
same.
mind programming. You
Yeah.
can also call it mental training. And anyway, what is involved is your imagination.
Yeah, and it can be applied for anything, not just language
Yes.
learning.
And as I said during the lecture, it's applied by sport athletes all over the world to achieve their results. If you ask any top athlete, anyone who has achieved very high goals, he has a mental coach and a physical coach. And in mental training, actually the athletes imagine that they are doing something way over their real situation, so that when they are in the real situation, they are very good at doing it.
Yeah, I think you briefly mentioned the mirror neurons, and
Yes.
they're very, very powerful. I think sometimes when we practice languages, we practice maybe these dialogues, even when we practice them in our heads, but we miss all the rest of we don't imagine, we don't go down to, let me think for a second, I'm in a restaurant, there's something, it's not my pizza coming, and I'm a bit mad, and now I want to ask the waitress. So we don't create the whole situation, we just practice like, per favore, una pizza, whatever it is in Italian.
Well, the more of yourself involved in your learning, the easier it becomes to learn. This is what I think. What do you think?
No, I think so. I mean, you really opened my eyes to the fact that the imagination really need to work more on the details. When we practice the train is late, we focus so much on the grammar thing.
We need to
we miss
imagine
yeah.
it. We need to imagine a train which is late and we missing it. What are our feelings when we are missing a train? I think in this case you will learn the words conveyed by this situation in a much easier way.
That's not positive.
That's an exception. But anyway, I strongly suggest that you use this, especially when you are very relaxed with positive things, because it's your unconscious mind which is involved, and it's better to expose your unconscious mind with positive stuff.
So, how long would it be like a minimum time to start doing it before learning other thing else? Like, from what I understand, it's just like you explore your subconscious about this and make it positive and possible, then you just go study, or what? I still not catch it.
Well, if you are exposed to positive images while being relaxed, of course you're going to involve your subconscious mind, because the subconscious mind is the part of you which is involved with the imagination and with automatic responses. That's why this may be also very powerful. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist. That's why I can't say anything on the therapy side of it.
And how long will it be minimum? Like you should do it like 20 minutes or 30 minutes or 1
Well,
hour,
what I
or-
suggest is that you practice often and very briefly. 20 minutes is good. I usually suggest my students after our first encounter that they listen to the recorded audio at least once a day, especially in the evening or first thing in the morning, because these are the most effective times while our brain can be programmed through these positive images.
So it means that you don't have to do this and then go to study and study going to. So you can do this
You can
anytime
do-
in the
you
day
can
that
do
you really like.
anything that is joyful for you, because if you learn and you are happy while learning, then you learn in a much easier way. As long as you are happy while learning, keep on doing it. But if you start feeling that you are bored by your language learning routine, stop it. You better go out and drink a beer.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi. Nowadays, I'm learning Italian using your books, your
Thank you.
audios, and I'm very, very happy.
Thank you very
For
much.
me, learning Italian is a pleasure.
That's great. That's my goal.
Thank you for your work.
Thank you very much. Well, you can find all of my books on Amazon.com. You just write my name, Antonio Libertino. I've written 5 books about learning Italian, 1 book for learning English for Italian people, and just another little booklet that you can find for free. But there's another book, if you are interested in the subject, that I strongly suggest. It's not a book that I've written myself, but it's good for teachers, if there are any teacher here. It's the book Imagine That by Mario Rinvolucri and others. I think I have the image, the cover of it on the slides. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, this is Imagine That, which is by Mario Rinvolucri and other people. And the other 2 books are my books, actually. One is Speak Italian Magically, in which there are 10 guided visualization with my voice in 2 languages and only in Italian. And the other one is Awaken Your English, which is actually a book that I created out of another book of mine, which is Awaken Your Italian, in which I explore the mental training techniques applied to language learning. Any other questions? Yeah?
Who are the 3 people then, beginning?
Well, I think you recognize them, because I had fun drawing Connor, who was a student of mine. This is Luca Lampariello in my own version. And this is...
Also learn Italian from you, Luca?
No, I don't think so. And the other one is Benny, as you said. I just browsed the internet, I found some picture of them, and I enjoyed drawing them on my own way. If there isn't anything else, I can conclude. Grazie, grazie mille.